Hello all, good morning, good evening or good afternoon. Yes, the title looks correct. So today we'll be again talking about data upgrade from Business Central 14 where you have customizations in CAL to Business Central 24. We have done it to Business Central 23 in the past in different parts, but there are a lot of questions that people asked on the comments, and I also did not saved or shared the script that I built during the process. So the steps that we'll be discussing today is more or less similar to what we did in the past video. So if you have seen those videos and you have succeeded with the upgrade, you don't have to watch it. Let's be plain and clear. But if you had issues and would like to revisit that, we'll be doing it in one go today. So keep a water bottle with you. If you want to have some tea, keep the tea with you. It's going to be a long video. Okay. There was a question that was asked around a specific custom on a specific table, and I just included that field into a table just to kind of simulate this. But if you are going to Business Central 23, you can still follow the same step other than the foundation app piece, which is new in Business Central 24. Other than that, everything will remain as it is. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps us to understand how we are doing. It kind of helps us to be motivated of keep doing the same stuff again and again. Okay, so without wasting further time, let me give you an intro of what kind of custom we have, and then we'll get into it. And this time I'm going to share all the objects and all the script that I'll build. So I take that on me. Okay, so let's head up to environment. First thing first, we have very minimum customization on it because this is just a demo. Out of that customization, one field is into the location table. That field is called shop at 50,000 ID, code 20. And then we also have the similar field on table 18, which is called as shop. There is a copy of GL entry table, and just to kind of put some data into 50,000 table. And then these pages are modified to show that field into the page. This code unit is used to kind of load data into these tables and all. So if you look at it here, and if you go to the customer, you will see that the shop has the same value what the number has. So it's exactly copying of the number into the shop. Same on the location code is copied into the shop code. So it's same value again. For the custom table, let's have a look. So when you're in this table, this is just a copy of all the GL entry that were available in this company, and they are getting copied into it. Now this time there's a slight change that we are using a Cronus UK or GB database. So if you're doing GB, we'll see that. Last time we did it on US. This time we are doing it on UK, and there is only one company. So I don't think that's a problem. But if you think you have more companies, let's then do this. Let's copy the company and create a separate company out of it. So I'll copy this and I'll name it as test. So at least we have two companies. The data will be similar, but at least we'll have two companies. So you understand that it doesn't matter how many companies you have, the process works in the same way. Okay, so now I'm here and I can switch to text. And as we have copied the data, the same data is available onto the test company for the standard table and for the custom fields that we have. Okay, hopefully that's clear. These objects I have exported and put it into a folder called BC14 objects. I have the text and the FOB file for your reference going forward. This is the standard object, which is called base object, and this is the custom objects, which are these objects at this moment. After that, because we are not talking about the merge phase and converting to CL customs to an AL extension, there's a video about it if you want to see that. I'll add it into the pinned comment or the description of it. But I did run the text to AL, which then converted this into objects. I'll share this, and then I converted that into an extension of BC14. So if you look into here, I have the same table and I have the table extension with the same field. Okay, So that is the environment, and we'll bring it from BC14 to BC24. Here is the article. The link of the article will also be available in the description and the first pin comment. It says upgrading customized CL application to base application in version 24. This is what we are going to do. In Business Central 14, you have Microsoft extension, if there are any, third-party extensions if you are using an ISV in BC14, and then you have these as symbols: system, application, and test. Then on top of it, you have a customized base application, which is CAL, and then there are system objects in BC14, which we'll bring to Business Central 24, where everything remains same. The platform version 24, the system are now converted into symbols. So you have system symbol, the application becomes the application app, and test is not mandatory, but that's also a separate app. The base application is splitted into now 3 apps. One is the base app, one is the system app, and one new app on BC24, which is the business foundation. So anywhere when I'm running a command where there's a business foundation reference, you can skip that part, because if you are doing it of BC prior versions. But if you are doing for BC24, you will kind of just follow the same steps. And then the customization here are get converted into these extensions. Okay, so let's go through it. And I feel like in the screen share, it's always good to have the dark theme. So I don't know where I change the theme of this, but I'll try. Is there a theme option somewhere? Okay, here, nice. Okay, I guess it's more readable now. So let's go back on the top. Okay. So here it says that the upgrade is divided into 2 sections. One is called application upgrade, another is called data upgrade. There's another question that I have from someone around the difference between application and data upgrade, and I'll talk about it in a separate video. But the application upgrade is majorly around merging the objects and bringing them to the latest version, whereas the data upgrade is around moving the data from your prior version to the new version that you are upgrading to. This article focuses on the data upgrade, or deals with the data upgrade. Now it looks a little bit crazy, but that's how it is. This is BC14 code with your database, and then you have different tables in CAL. You create different versions of these extension, and then it kind of goes to BC24, and we'll see how that happens as we go through it. The process uses 2 special features for migrating tables and data to extension. One is called destination app for migration, and one is called migration.json file. I'll use the prior slide if I have. Let me see if I can navigate to that and try showing you the second step. Okay. First, to run this, you need to make sure that you are using Business Central 14 CU12 or higher, because at that point Microsoft announced this route. Now there are 2 words that I used a while ago, which is around destination app for migration and migration.json. Now destination app for migration is used when you are upgrading from version 14 and you have to move an entire table from CAL to AL, which means all the tables which are between 50,000 to 99,000, and I'm just talking about the customs right now. To move that data from CAL environment to an AL extension, you will need to use a feature called destination app for migration. There are some rules for it. The table ID in AL must be same ID as it was in CAL. And the table definition, which is the schema, must match to the existing schema. Can only set the destination app for migration by using the set nav server configuration, because post as in now the latest version, there is no administration panel, so you need to set this property for moving the data for the new tables by using set nav configuration. So we typically have 2 kind of changes in CAL. One is that we add new tables into the system and new objects into the system, and the other is we modify the standard Microsoft object. So when we are thinking about data migration, all the new tables in our range of 50,000 to 99,000 will move to an AL extension using the feature destination app for migration, and we'll talk about it. But about the base table field, which exists as a custom field in the base table, for that you will have to use migration.json. What it does, it provides a pointer to the ID of an app where the data need to move from the customized BC14 app. So you, in the migration.json, you specify that, okay, the data from this table will move to this extension based on the GUID or the app ID that you have assigned to that custom extension. It allows you to move table and field data. For example, a code customized on the base application will move to an extension of the base application. While using migration.json, you have to set target as on-prem. And if you don't know what target means, we can surely figure it out. But remember, for the new tables that you have created, to move that data from CAL to AL, you have to use destination apps for migration. And to move data from custom field in the base table, you have to use the feature called migration.json. And we'll see that as we move ahead into it. Hopefully that is clear. So let's go back. And you can read here if you want. That's just a summary of it. For the demo, we are using single tenant. We're not using multi-tenant, but that's how it is right now. If you want multi-tenant, let me know. I'll have to prepare that environment. First, prerequisite is your version 14 is compatible with version 24. Now remember, when you look at the compatibility metrics, because there are a lot of questions that has been asked around it, and when you go to BC20 or BC14 to check for the upgrade compatibility, it does not list down the version 20 anything past version 23. But as the article is available, I think in this release and in the next release you will still be able to upgrade from version 14 till version 25, and we'll talk about it separately someday. The version 14 development environment is installed, which is already installed, and you should have the license. We have it. You have converted the text to AL conversion tool, so you have the tool in the platform, so you can see that. So we'll see that how it goes. Okay, so the first step is install version 24, which I have already done. I have a running instance of BC24 on my machine right now. So if you look at it, there is a BC20, BC14 and BC24. So download this, install this, and install the component. Upgrade permission set, that's a separate piece altogether. We're not talking about it right now. Application upgrade. Okay, here we come. So the first thing is move code customization to extension. So this is about the application upgrade, separate topic altogether. We are not getting into it. The first step now is to create empty system business foundation base and customization extension. So in this process of with the cal customize, you have to create empty apps for all the apps which are required to do the upgrade. Now what are the apps that you need to require to upgrade? The core apps and your custom extension. If you have multiple, then you will have to create for multiple. What are the core apps? The core apps are your system application, your base application, and only in version 24 and higher business foundation application, and then your PTE custom that you have built. So for the interim phase of the migration, we'll need to create a separate system application, a foundation application, a base application, and if you have one or more PTEs, then you'll have to build an empty version of all these PTEs. Okay, so let's go ahead. The first thing is you need to create an empty extension without like any other extension by adding the AL project. So go to VS Code and do a AL go. So let's do that. I went here and I'll open the new window. Okay, and I'll do ALGO, and I would like to place everything here, so let me just copy that path. Okay, and I'll create a separate folder called empty extensions. Okay, here I'll create the extension. Okay, the first extension that I'm creating, it seems it is system application. So let's go ahead, ALGO, give the path, and here it says system application. Okay, I'll point it to 2024 release wave 1 because that's what it is. And okay, we'll wait for it. Do I need to connect it to server? I don't know. Let's read it. So you do ALGO, and then you delete the hello world AL file. So let's go ahead and delete the hello world.al file. Done that. Modify the app.json. The important setting that in app.json or ID, the name, the version, the publisher, dependencies, and runtime. The ID and name must match the values by Microsoft extension. You should not be changing it to a different version. Set the version to any version lower than 24, like 14.0. You also have to include publisher, and you can use your own publisher name or Microsoft. Remove all other settings. It's important that there are no dependencies set, and set the runtime to 13.0. Now 13.0 is matching to BC 24. So this is how it should look like, the system application. So you can actually copy all this, come back to your extension app.json, and let me cancel this. Okay, and I can actually replace all this with whatever I have copied. Okay, now how I know that this ID is correct? As in, you can always verify it. If you're doing it separately, it's your call, but you can always check it by going into and running the command for okay, my bad. Okay, so let me zoom this in. I don't think I have to save this, but if you think I have to, later on let me know into the comments. I'm doing a get -nav app info on server instance PC240 and name as system application. So what this command gives you, it gives you the information about the extension. Now if you look, the app ID is 63B493F, which is the same. The name of the app is system application, which we have. Publisher is Microsoft, and version, if you remember, the article said it should not be greater than 24. You can keep it anything. I'm just keeping it as 14. Runtime need to be 13, and as we heard earlier, that the target should be on-prem. So all looks good based on the article. Let's go back. Okay, so we'll have to create system application, then business foundation, and then base application, and then the custom extension that we have. Okay, and then for each of these we'll have to build and compile these extension. To build an extension, you need to do a Control-Shift-B. There's a tip, we'll read it, and then I'll do all these steps. This step only require if you need to trigger a data upgrade on these extension, without which you shall do by running the start and update upgrade on 17. That's okay, but we'll keep it as it is. So what I'll do is I'll just do the build here. There's nothing here, so I'll just do a build. Now that makes it. Now what I'll do, and I'm just trying to save time here, but I'll just copy this and I'll name the other one as business foundation. Okay, then I'll again copy this and name it as base application. Okay, and then I'll copy this, and I'll have to change things, but I'm just doing it as it is. My custom extension. Okay, system application was set. Now the second one, it said me to create the business foundation, so I'll open this, open with code, come back here, delete the system application app because I'll have to rebuild this, and update the app.json for business foundation. Copy this, paste it here. Now you can actually use the same files which I'm building if you are in create built-in. Is it? No, till this point you can use it for all the regions because there is no symbols and there's no references at this point. Okay, this one got created, and let's go and do base app. Delete the app, open with code, go into app.json and replace what you see here on the base. Okay, done. The ID should exactly match to the actual IDs that are supposed to be there. So the base application is done. Now we are only left with the custom extension, so let's deal with that also. Okay, open with code, let's update the app.json. What I need to update it is this. Okay, so here it is, but there are some unknowns because Microsoft don't know about your extension IDs, so I'll actually have to go to the extension that I build in my merge process and say what is the ID of it is. This is the ID, the name, the publisher. So I'll just copy all these three things in here and paste them here. Now the interesting is the version. It says extension version must be lower than the final version. So my final version is actually 1.0.0.0, which is interesting. I should change this. So let me, because I haven't used it anywhere, I'll just change it to, let's say, 2.00. This is the actual extension, which will be the final version, and I'll change the version to 1.0.0 in my empty app. So here I'll do 1.0.0. I could have done any other lower version, but just for the reference. So this is the reference as an empty reference of the app, which is my custom app. Now understand it why we have to do the base system and the foundation, because if you look at this my PTE, it has a dependency to the application, base, business foundation, system, and system application. So the placeholders are needed just to support this, and then the base app also have customizations in CAL. So this is ready, so let's do a build here, and this becomes the empty version of my all the apps that are needed. Hopefully you guys are with me till this point. We have built all these 4 apps in the empty app section, and now we need to create a table migration extension. This is my task file. In this step, you will create an extension that contains only of the non-system table objects from your custom base application. The table object will only include the properties and field definition. They won't include AL code on the triggers or the method. This extension is an interim used only during the data upgrade. You will create 2 versions of this extension. The first version contains the table object. The second version is an empty extension that contains the migration.json. So let me try to explain it in plain English. For the creating the table migration extension, we'll have to create an extension which have all the objects from BC14, all the tables from BC14, excluding the system tables. Now what are my system tables? My system tables are anything that is after 2 million, if I'm correct on the number, but anything prior this is considered the base app in the future version. or a combination of those three apps. But here it's part of the system symbols now in BC. So what Microsoft is saying, that you will have to create an extension which include all the tables other than all these 2 million range tables. And the extension will have files for each of the tables in your source code, but it'll not have any code in those tables. It'll have field properties, definition and everything, but it'll not have the AL code, triggers or method. And then we have to create two versions of it. One which will have all the objects, the second one which have no object but which has the migration.json file. Now remember migrate.json? That file is used to move data from the customization in the base table to a separate extension, to a table extension more or less. So let's create that. Now first we are creating the first version. Now this is my table migration extension, so I'll go and create a folder here. Okay. Table migration extensions, and I'll number them if needed going forward. Okay. Here I'll have to create the first version app table only. So first create a folder where you like to port txt file for tables. Okay, you can place it anywhere, but I'll place it inside here just to keep it simple and for you guys. So this is, what is the folder name he's giving? Let's say, I guess he's giving, yeah, BC14 table only. So let's use the same name so that you guys can refer it if needed. Now once you have the folder, what it's saying, to run the export command to export the application object. Now it's here, you can just click copy. Because I'm already using PowerShell, I'll have to close this. I like using it this way. If you are a fan of administration cell, I think I don't mind. You can use that also here, and I'll explain you this in a while. Okay, so first I'll have to tell this that I'm using the BC14 things. (140) service. Oh, sorry, this is not the service one. My bad. Is it not? Yeah. C program files x86. Business Central. 140. Okay. Role tailor client .ps1. Okay. Sure. Now let's see. Export nav application object. My database server is actually localhost. My database name is, let's see, or let's copy the actual database server if that helps. Here, my database name is BC14 upgrade demo. So I'll just copy this here, or let's do it in double quotes. Even if there are no spaces, that doesn't matter. Then there is this boolean to export into the new syntax, which automatically converts it into an AL file format. And then here is where you want that, and I want it in this folder. So I'll just place it here. Okay, and then the filter of table ID from 1 to this, which is less than 2 million. So as soon as I run this, it'll automatically export all these objects into this folder in a text file. So let's run this, and I don't have permission to do this from PowerShell, my bad. So I'll go and search for development cell. Okay, Dynamics Nav development cell. Okay, paste that command, run this. Now this is kind of working on to exporting all the objects, and then you will see a file getting generated here. But while this is happening, let's move ahead. Then you need to use the text to AL conversion to convert all these objects to AL. So when you are doing an export, it is exporting your objects like you would have done from file database export thing, right? So this PowerShell command helps you to export objects into a text format, but it is still in the NAV format. Now how you convert an NAV object to an AL object? You use text to AL conversion tool. So the text to AL conversion tool will export these file out, and this is completed. So the file is available here. So now I can do here to convert it into AL using text to AL. Now in text to AL it is saying source, which is the folder where this file is, and then the target is where you want the exported output, which is the AL file, and then it is adding a new option to table data only. What table data only does, it automatically trims out all the code on all the triggers and all the functions that you have created in all these objects, and skips it while exporting the object into AL. So I don't know, I'll try to open this, but this will take a lot of time, so I'm not trying to waste that time, I guess. But this have everything, believe me. So let's go into CMD. This is my command prompt, and let's navigate where this file or text to AL conversion is, which is somewhere here where your RTC is. So I'll just copy this and come back here and do a change directory. Okay, now I can copy that command, paste it here, but then I'll have to change the parameters that where I'm doing this. So new folder AL. So my actual file folder is this. So this becomes my source. Okay, and then this becomes my target. I've also created a folder AL, but because my file path may have spaces, I'm just doing it like this. Okay, so I'm saying pick all the text file that are in this folder, surely the text file from BC, and then convert them and place them into the target folder called AL. And then I have the tag to table data only. With the table data only flag, it automatically trims any code that is associated with the object that you have been trying to export or convert, and it completely eliminates all the codes that's there, either your code, Microsoft code, or even an ISV code. There were 0 errors and total time took is this, so you're good here. If I go in, I'll see all these objects separate, and when you try to open any of these objects, you'll only see that it has field, keys, field group, no code. In real life, 284 have a lot of code if you look at it, and I'm just guessing, but I'm pretty sure there should be. So let's see. 284 have actually no code. Okay, so let's go into 36, and we all know sales header have a lot of code behind the scene to support the business, right? Now when I look at the sales header table in this folder, okay, somebody told me in the last video that I take a lot of time to search things, but sorry. Okay, here if you look at it, it have only table and table properties which will impact, and there is no code in the whole object, converted object. And this happens because we have added the flag of table data only. Hopefully that's clear. Table data only, and you can read about it here, but that's all. Okay. If your table data only parameter is not available in your text to AL conversion, you need to upgrade, or you need to pick the text to AL version from a higher version of BC14, because this was added later, and that's why I said CU12 or higher for BC14. Hopefully that's making sense. Okay, so we have AL extension installed in VS Code AL project, or table go. set platform to 13, and then do this. What it's trying to do, configure the project app dot file. Okay, now I'm getting confused that it did not say that it is creating a second version of it. So we did this till this point, and then it says in VS Code create a AL project for table migration extension. Oh, we haven't created it. Okay, and then in that do certain things. So here we'll be creating an extension, and let's see what Microsoft is using the name, because I would prefer to use the same name. It's called BC14 base app tables only. Oh, that's a long name. Let me keep it ready for my AL go, and I'm just using the way Microsoft is using, just to keep it simple. Okay, this is where I'll be creating my extension. So let's go back to VS Code. What we are creating, the first version of the empty app that we need, or table migration app that we need. Here it is. Set the runtime to 13 right now. I'm pretty sure that's what they want, but we'll check that. Okay. Yeah. So we have created it. Present delete the hello world file. It's always forces me to delete the hello world file, which is good. Done. Then configure these settings. Again, I'll rely on Microsoft of what they want, so I'll just copy this as it is. I should not be copying ID. To be very fair, ID is a unique number that is generated for your reference. So other than ID, you should be copying everything from here if needed, and then pasting it here if needed. Okay. Alright. So here we are. Now, there is one more thing that happened interestingly. And let me go back and do a Control Z here. And that's why I don't like to run through my steps. It says configure the project app file. In this, set the name publisher version, which is okay. And then delete the application parameter. What is the application parameter? You don't see it here, but here, if you pay attention to it, there's an application attached to it, which is 24. Now, what actually happens when you assign the application property? And if we need to do a detailed video on it, let me know into the comments. But application is a app which in turn is dependent onto the base system and foundation. So when you specify the application property here, it's a wrapper, and as soon as you download symbol and the system reads the application property, it automatically downloads the system base and application symbol and the foundation symbol as of BC24 and higher. What Microsoft is saying that when you are building this empty app, make sure that you delete the application parameter. So even if you are copying, and maybe you are not copying, remember that they did not miss out that application here. It's written here that you don't need an application property there. So I'm again going to copy other than ID. I'll copy it as it is. So I'm good there. Okay. Create the folder manually called AL package. Now the AL package folder is used for the references, and it was created automatically. So no worries if it was created. That's not a problem. Folder in the root folder of the project, and then copy version 24 system symbols from the system app file. Now, whenever you install Business Central on your machine on-prem, there is an installation directory, which in this case is this 240 and all. If you have a different installation path, you need to choose that path. This is where your RTC folder used to sit in the previous version. I don't have it. Okay, let me see. Program files x86, and Microsoft maybe correct this. If I did not find it, I'll surely recommend you to close this. Oh, there is 240. There is AL development environment. Something happened, I guess, that I was not able to search it. But this is program files x86, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, 240, AL dev environment. Okay. Now here you get the system app. Now system app is a reference of 2 million objects from an NAV perspective. All these 2 million objects tables that are there are referred or part of this system app. And if you remember, when you run the export command, if I have it here, no, I don't have it here. Yeah, this one, right? We applied a filter to only export tables from 1 to 19999. To fill in the gap at this moment, I'll be copying this file from the Microsoft folder and we'll get back into VS Code, not on this one, on this one, and paste it inside here to complete the whole table list. One set of object we have already converted, which is less than 2 million, and then the system app is bringing references of rest of the objects which are not found, which are these objects. So now you have the whole object set ready at this point on this migration extension. But let's keep going on. Add the AL file for the tables that you converted earlier to the root folder of this project. Now this is important, the root folder. Now typically when you build extension, and every company has their own route, but like we use to place all the files that are related to project inside SRC. So even if you have a habit of doing it, in this scenario, don't do it. You have to place all the file that you have converted in the previous step into the root folder of this project. So I can actually go back here and say, okay, where is that? Table only. Yes, here are my all AL files, right? That we converted without the code. I'll copy all these files, come back to the extension that I've just built and paste it here directly without creating any folder. Now this brings all the files here. Now remember, at this point, if you are not using UK localization, you can't follow my steps because these objects vary from region to region. So if you are US, you'll have to repeat this step for US. If you are India, completely separate objects altogether, right? So from this point, which is create the first version of migration, it now becomes region dependent. So from here, you will have to take your own database, you will have to take your own objects, you'll have to do the conversion. Till this point, it is more or less similar for everyone. Hopefully that's clear. So we have added the files. Now we need to build the version 1 of it. And let me pause and I'll take a water break. If you guys want, take some water and then I'll come back here. I'm pausing the recording. Okay, I'm back. So now we need to build the extension package for the first version. So let's go back into VS Code here, and I see some issues, so let's do a reload of this because I copied it from somewhere. So it'll take time to kind of understand the relationship between the objects. So we'll give it some time, and I see only one error. Rest all are warnings. The error is that there is no such table called profile because this has been removed by Microsoft now. If you know that it is a Microsoft table that has been removed, and it is supposed to be I don't think that if you're doing from BC14, other than profile ID or the profile reference, if you get any other error, you have to stop and go back and think about it. Let's be very clear. On a standard BC14 environment, not a standard, your customized BC environment, when you convert it, the only table that should cause you problem at this step in version 23, 22 or 24 is the table relation profile. If you see any other table relation which is causing problem, you will have to go back and review what is wrong in BC14. There might be some left out object from the previous migration which is causing that problem, especially tables, right? But don't start moving ahead at this point if you see anything more than profile on version 22, 23 and 24. I haven't done it on prior to 22, but 22, 23 and 24, I'm very sure that there should not be any other error other than the profiles table. If you are only seeing this error, remove this error. Save the file that you have changed, and now what it says, if you read the article, is to build that extension using Control Shift B. So I'm going to do Control Shift B, and that should create a package, which is an app somewhere in the middle. The app name was, and I don't remember. Okay, so the first thing is the name. Hopefully, no, the first thing is publisher, and I kept it default publisher, which is surprisingly, but that's okay. Not here. Okay, I'm looking for a file with D. Okay, here. So you have the app ready with version 1.0. So our first app is ready. Now let's move ahead and see what it says, because now we have to create a second version, which is an empty version of it. Now I'll say kind of continue modifying this and all, but what I'm going to do now is, it says that create a new file called migration.json and add it to the project root folder, and then add these files, and I'll explain you what this is, and then delete the AL object except the following tables. So it wants me to keep some tables but then delete other tables. Starting in version 18, these tables has been changed to temporary table. For now you'll have to include these objects in the table migration, otherwise you'll have problem. Okay, and increase the version and do this. So instead of modifying this extension, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this, go back to my folder, because I also have to give it to you guys, right? So I'll just copy and paste this, and I'll call it v2. Version 2. Now in the version 2, it is saying something. Let's try to follow that. Okay, now that's a pretty hard step to kind of pick these 5 tables. I'm first focusing into this bin content buffer table, BDEO. So bin content buffer, and I have to delete all of the tables other than these 4. So bin content buffer, let's go to B. Bin content buffer is this table. So I'm going to, on the version 2, I'm removing other objects other than what Microsoft is recommending, and I'll have to keep the app.json for sure. So I'll just unselect that. Done. So my first file is bin content buffer. My next file should be document entry table. So let's go to document entry. Document entry here. Okay, and the reason of deleting these files is because, or keeping these files, is because these files or these objects were changed by Microsoft to be temporary, so we'll have to keep them. Okay, done. Next becomes my document entry. Then the other one is entry summary table. So let's go ahead and let's keep this. Then it's option lookup buffer. Option somewhere here, I guess. IJKLMNOP. Where is that? Here. So what I'll do, I'll delete everything else after this because that's not needed. Okay, and then I'll also delete everything prior to this other than my tables that I need. Okay, so I have kept the table object except these 4. That's done. I'll open this into VS Code version 2, and here the first thing that it is suggesting me to do is, or the last thing I guess, that increase the version of the app. So I'll increase it from 1.0.0 to 1.0.1, just one increment into it. Everything else remains same. I'm not changing anything into it. But let's come back here and let's try to understand this. Now it says to create a new file and name the file as migration.json, and I was a little bit far from my computer, I don't know. did that impacted the voice or not, but I'll create a new file and I'll name it as migration.json. Now in the migration.json, I have to copy all this, and we'll come to this what it is. In the migration.json, you have to add all the dependencies of the extension that you need for this migration. Let's understand this. This is let's see, this is, I guess, the system application. Let me search for it. This is system application. The second one is the foundation application, hopefully. Yes, business foundation. Third one is the base app, this one. And the fourth one that it is saying is the extension that I have built with my customs, which is this extension. So let me copy this and place it here. Now there's one more thing to remember it here. You can't put these numbers randomly. This is based on the sequence of these apps. Now if you look at this app, this has literally no dependency, and this app has a dependency on this one. This app has dependency on these two or one of those, and this app, which is my custom app, is actually have dependencies with all three. So I can't place this on the top, or I can't change the sequence of this. There's a pretty rigid sequence that need to follow in the same order based on what is dependent on what. Okay, so I've created this, put the dependency, and here it's system application, business foundation, base. The last entry is the new customization. If you have multiple extension, then you can add another lines into it. Okay, delete the table, which we are done. Increase the version, which is done, and then build the extension. Let's do and build the extension. But as we come here, we see that there are some errors. One, there's an access by permission error. I'll clean this up because I've surely removed that table from right now. Item unit of major, table relation, bye bye. Same in item unit of major, there are other table relation which are causing problems. I'm just going to remove them because I just have removed the objects myself for this version too. Okay, no table relation here, no table relation here, no table relation here. Anything else? One. Oh, done. So fix the compilation issues in this case, and make sure the last thing is that you update the version which is higher than the prior version, and I'm just doing it to 1.0.01. You can make it 2 if needed, and then do a build. Now this gives me the second version of the empty extension, and in this empty extension I actually have the migration.json, which understand the relationship between all these extensions, and then will be able to move the data based on where that field exists at the same ID. And this is only for the field. This is not for the new tables, and we'll come to that as we move forward. Okay, so we are good there, hopefully at this point, right? Now before I start running all this, let me just go to my folder and place all these apps a little bit outside so that I don't have to kind of go inside everywhere. So this is my V2, so I'll just place it out. This is my V1, so I'll just bring it out, this one. So I have these two apps here, the version 1 and the version 1.1. Okay, in the same way, let's go back into, I don't need here anything, empty extensions. Yes, that's the thing. So let's copy this out so that it's easier for you. Okay, copy this out, place it here. These are empty extensions and the system application. Alright, now I have the 4 apps here, which are the empty placeholders for all the standard and custom extension. I surely have the migration apps, and then I also have the PTE extension here. which is the extension that you are seeing in here, which is built on based on BC24. Okay, so everything seems settled at this point. Hopefully we have followed everything, there are no problems. So let's run this. Disable data encryption. If you're using it, just search for encryption on your role tailor client and disable it. I'm not using it, so I don't have to do that. Okay, you need to run as administrator, and then you will have to uninstall all extension using this command. And then it explains you that single tenant only, you can unpublish all extension from the application server instance by just piping this rather than doing it one by one. Oh, there's a command of uninstall. I need to copy this, and I'm going to save these PowerShell, guys, so don't worry at this point. Alright, let me go to the new tab and let's do this. Okay, so the first thing first is import module. So let's do a import module of C program files, Microsoft Dynamics Business Central 140 service and .ps1. This will load all my command. My server instance is called BC140. Okay, my tenant ID, because I'm not using multiple tenant, if you're not using it, then it becomes default. And then here again the server instance becomes BC140, so I can just place that in here. My tenant is again default, so it kind of gets default. Now if you don't know how to read this, let me walk you through around it quickly. It says first get the nav info of whatever the apps that are available in this, which is what? Every extension that is part of this, and you see a lot of extension here, right? And then once you get the output of it, pass this to this command, and here it'll try to do uninstall based on the name that you have coming from this, the version that is coming here, and will try to force it. Now what do you mean by force? That if there is a dependency to the extension that you are installing, that also get uninstalled. That's in summary what it means. So this is, let me just grab it from here, uninstall all extension from the tenant. Okay, let's bring the other command also so that we can just run them in together, which is unpublish all extension from the service. How you do that? Again, there is one single line of command. Get that in. The only difference between this command and the previous command is that it is unpublishing all the symbols. Now symbols are extension which does not have an extension file that you kind of see on your extension management page. They are just behind the scene, and they get filtered out when you apply the flag of removing them. Oh, this is just unpublishing. So this is uninstall, and then you do unpublish. Okay, there should be one more thing: uninstall done, unpublish done, and unpublish all system test and application symbol. Now this is what I was saying a while ago. Symbols are something that you don't see here, and then to kind of see them, you have to add one more flag into your get nav app info, which is the symbol only. And with that symbol only, it only shows you apps which are with symbol only, and then you can move forward with it. Okay, I'm not multi-tenant, so I'll leave this, and at the end I'll have to stop the service. Stop service, which is this, and this is BC140. Okay, so first thing first, let's try to do the uninstall. Okay, let's try to do the unpublish. Okay, let's try to uninstall again, because that seems that there was one extension which did not get uninstalled, so let's remove it, and then let's try to unpublish all again. Got it, no errors, everything looks good. Let's try to remove the symbols. Done. And just for my sanity, I'll just check one more time what's the status here. So I can just pick this and run this. Nothing. I don't see anything. So that means everything, all the extension that were there in BC14 has been removed. So now we are good to stop our service. And this is the only step that we have to do on BC14. So I'll save this file into here, upgrade, and I'll say 1 BC14 to BC24 step 1, and I'll add execute in BC14. Okay, done that. Let's move ahead. Now it says you have to kind of go to SQL, remove all the references of your licenses if there are any, and let's do that. So I'll just copy this, log into my SQL server. Now because here, if you see in the command, there is an app database name and then there is a tenant database name, but because I'm on a single tenant, the database name becomes my tenant name. Tenant database name and application database name are same. So I can just pick the name and replace it here on the app database name as well as on the tenant database name, and this will clear out the reference. Maybe you need it, I'll just save it. Okay, so this becomes 2 clear license from database. Okay. This is already done. Now it says convert the database, convert version of 14 database. Now people who have done upgrades in the past, and I don't know how many of you guys watching it later have done it, but in the previous version, this step means opening your database of older version with a newer exe. So let's say if you're coming from nav 2015 to nav 2018 for BC14, you will have to kind of open that database into the newer supported version of exe that's needed. But because in Business Central there is no exe, there is actually a PowerShell command for it, and that command is this, invoke. So here I'm going to write, and I just have loaded the module up there for BC240, that I'm going to convert my application database from my database server. Okay, I don't have an instance, but if you had an instance, you will have to add the instance here, and then at the end you have to add the database name. Okay, done that. Now this converts my database to the higher version of exe. Now if your database is not hosted on-prem and it's on Azure SQL, you will have to do certain things which you can read here. But if you're dealing on-prem and you have all the required permission on SQL Server, you can just run the invoke conversion command, and this will show you output something like this. At this point, it should give me a confirmation dialog, or there should be a pop-up, but no, it did it automatically. Okay. At this point, you will not be able to utilize this. What happened? In place publishing skipped emit version to 40235 is current. Hopefully that's converted. Okay, yeah, that's how you see the message here. Okay. At this point, this database is no longer operational on BC14. Even if you want to, it's gone. So just for my sanity, I'll also restart or stop my service to BC. Oh, it's already stopped. I forgot. So now it's already in the way towards going into future. The next is to configure the BC24 server for destination app for migration. Now remember the destination app for migration discussion? For all new tables to move between BC14 CAL to AL extension, we'll be using the destination app for migration. Okay. How you do that? There's no administration cell. You have to rely on the PowerShell commands. And let me copy all these and then we'll talk about it. Okay. Seems it's done. Alright. Let's come back here. Also copy paste here to here. Okay. So first thing first, and let me set all the parameters so that it becomes easier for me. And then I can I'll surely explain, not can. I'll surely explain. So my server instance is actually BC240. So I can just copy this, do this in BC240. Okay. My database name is this. That is the first parameter. File path for the license, I'll have to figure that out. Just give me a minute. And then destination app for migration. I like things to be aligned. So, oh, sorry. What? Okay. Destination app for migration. It doesn't say much here, but okay. Table migration. Okay, so let me walk you through around it. The first step, which is set nav server configuration, sets the database name into your server instance, that this is the database that you will be mapped to. Currently my service is mapped to run demo database, so I'm changing that parameter, which is kind of, you don't have an access to administration now, but in the previous version, think about it to kind of explain you easily, that you are setting this value into the service. How you do that? By doing it this. If you have to set the server, database server, which I don't think you will have to, but in case if you have to, what you can do is you can set the database server, and then the key value becomes this. So if your service is not configured for the local server, you can also use the key value here to pass the server name. Then the server name, the database name, then it is disabling the task scheduler. What is task scheduler? Task scheduler is based on which your background tasks are running, and this is just changing this to false at this moment. I've cut this line in a while. Then it is restarting the service after this, and then importing the license, and then again restarting the service because we have uploaded the license. Now let's come to the third line, which is destination app for migration. Now here you need to provide the details of the apps which will be used for migration of the data. Let's read the documentation here. Set the server instance to connect to the application database. Destination app migration setting, you'll need to set the ID, name and publisher of the first version number of the table migration extension that you created on task number 5. Which is that app? Let me show you here. Table migration extension V1, this one. How I know about that, how I can get details about it, I can surely open the source code, but at the same time I can do a get nav app info on path, just this will list down every property of that extension. So the first is app ID. This is my app ID from a migration extension version 1, so I'll have to add that. Then the name of my extension, table migration extension name is this. Okay, who is the publisher for this, which is interesting because it's a default publisher. Okay, I should have changed it, but that's okay. Default publisher, and then it says version, which is 1.0.0.0. With this, what happens, if you remember, the version 1 contain all the objects or all the tables from your BC14 without any code. So the data will move from there to this particular extension, the version 1 extension, right? So it says configure the destination app for migration. You need to provide all the details that you have created on task 5. If you want to go back and see, in the task 5 we created the first version of the app, which is this is my task 5, and this is what I have provided there. Hopefully that's clear. Then you can have multiple extension, I don't need to. Then disable the task schedule, which we are doing, and re-enable after the upgrade, and restart the service, and then import the license, which you know, and then restart the service. So give me a minute, I'll just figure out my license and add that path into it. Okay, so I've updated here my license file, and then I'm restarting the service. I'll run this in a single bunch. There's nothing crazy about all these commands, hopefully. Okay, so as you see, they are running. They're saying you need to restart the service because I'm changing some properties. But while this is happening, let's move ahead. Now it says publish the destination app for migration. It's not saying publish other apps and all. First it is saying that you need to publish the first version of table migration extension, which we just specified into the destination app for migration property. How you do that? You publish it, and then it says publish the empty version of system business base custom extension. This step publishes the extension you created in task 3. Publish the extension using publish like the previous suggest, and then restart the service. Okay, so now it's the time to go back here, and there's an error. Okay, I need to figure out the different file. I was using FLF, which is not supported in BC24, so just give me a moment, I'll figure it out. Okay, I figured it out, my license file, and I'm going to re-import and then restart it. Everything else succeeded, so that should not be a problem, and now it should restart my service, which is done. Okay, make sure you have the right license file. Okay, now the step is to import migration extension and empty extensions, or not import but publish, sorry. So let's copy this, let's place it here. Okay, so my server instance is BC240. Okay, and then the path will vary for each extension. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this, and remember that there is a skip verification at the end. The skip verification is because all these extensions are built locally at our end, and there are no certified extension out of it. There's a certification process. So I'm taking first the version 1, which is this, placing it here. Then it says to publish the system business base. So let's go back and look for empty extension. System, do it in the same order. Okay, so let's put the system empty. Then the second one it says is business foundation. So let's go to the business foundation, copy this and paste it here. Next up is my base application. So the base application is this empty app. I'm going to publish it here, and last but not least is my custom extension, empty version. So I'm also including that here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extension. If you look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 extension, and this we are publishing, and then we need to restart. I can just copy it from here. I don't think other than the first one anyone else should take time, and I can run it in a batch. So let me clear this and let's run this set. Okay, it is publishing. While it is publishing, let's try to understand what's happening in the equation. So in summary, we had Business Central 14 with CAL customization. we created all table without code, and then the extension that we are publishing, and then we created version 2 of it with destination app for migration. And destination app for migration, which is a combination of empty apps, and this is an older slide, but there should be a foundation app also now in BC24. And then we create a version 2 of this app which have no tables other than those 3 tables which are changed to temporary, and that contains the migration.json file. And then this moves the data into actual apps of your PTE, system, base, application, and the foundation in this case. Hopefully that's clear. Let's go back and see what's happening. All those gets published. Now if you do a get nav app info, which I love to do, on server instance BC240, you will notice that there are these empty versions of all these apps. Business foundation, system, base, tables only version 1, and PTE. Okay, let's move ahead. Now you need to sync the tenant. Now this steps verifies that whatever you have built, is that all correct or not. Some people have commented that they try to force sync it and all. You don't have to do it ever. If you reach to a point where you have to force sync, that means you are doing something wrong in all the steps. While this is happening, we'll read through it, but I don't think anything is happening till this point. So we'll do the sync nav tenant here. Sync nav tenant running into the mode sync verifies that you're not making any destructive changes, and there is a place for each table that is coming from BC14 CAL in your AL word. So if there are errors, we surely have done something wrong. But let's go back and let's read what it was. It says if you are on a multi-tenant deployment, then you have to do this, which I'm not, so I don't have to worry about it. Otherwise, I have to run the sync tenant with the application database, which is sync service name, mode sync, and tenant default. Then you need to synchronize the tenant with table migration extension. This extension is the table only extension you created in task 5 and published in task 10, the V1. So I'll have to synchronize the table only extension using the sync command, because then that kind of verifies that everything looks good. This steps creates empty table in the database for the table defined in the table migration extension. They are not yet created. When completed, the table migration extension take ownership of the table. All the kind of GUID kind of appends to that. In SQL Server, you will notice that the table names will be suffixed with the extension ID. At this point, the tenant state is operational data upgrade pending. Let's see what's happening. It's done. Okay. Now let's sync table only version 1. Before we do that, let's have a look on the SQL so that we understand what that statement means. I know it's getting longer, but that's how it is. If I have to do it in one video, that's how it will be. Sorry guys, but breaking it can be problematic for some people, so I'm trying to do it in one go at this point. Extension version 1.0.0.0. Okay. Now before we execute this, let me refresh and see what's the state of the environment right now is. So if I expand it, you'll see that all the tables are pointing as they are in NAV, right? There's nothing changed on it. Everything is NAV. There's no GUID attached to it like in BC24. When you see, there are some which are coming from these extensions in BC14, which we have unpublished at this moment, but they have the data and all. Let's see what happens when we run this step, because it will change the ownership of this extension, this tables, and map it to our table only extension. So that's interesting to see. Let's run this. Okay. Now this is running and this is making some changes, which is very clearly written here. That this step creates the empty table in the database for table object in the table migration extension. When completed, the table migration extension take ownership of the table, and you will notice that there is a suffix with the extension ID of this extension. To verify the tenant status, you can run this command, which I don't have to, and then synchronize the empty version of system, business, base, and customization extension as published in previous step. I should have done it together, but that's okay. What's happening right now? It is creating the empty versions of these and then taking the ownership, which we should be seeing now here. Okay. So now when I expand this, you'll notice that every table got a GUID, and this GUID is actually the GUID of the extension, which is this. All these tables got the ownership of this temporary extension. That will be removed going forward. But right now, the ownership of all these tables is not with Microsoft, is with this temporary extension that we have created for the migration. Hopefully that's clear, that how the ownership is changing, because I'm doing a sync and I have the destination app for migration set in my property. Now it says anything that you have published here, you also have to synchronize all of them. So let me just quickly copy that. Change the publish to sync, publish and sync and install or upgrade happens in the same order. So don't worry about it. If you don't remember the order remains same. Okay, so I need the name of the app, which is here. I know this is a little bit tricky, but that's how it is. Okay. I'll right now just copy this and then I'll fix it. Okay, business foundation, base application, and my custom extension. Okay, so here I'm going to append the double quotes here because there are spaces in the name, and then I need to append the version as a separate property here. So I'll remove this, append the version. Again remove this, append the version. Version is important because when there is a higher version of it, it kind of gets confusing for the system. So always specify the version until unless this is the only app that is not going to have a higher version going forward, which is rare. Okay, come back, not here, let's come back to the article. So it says system, business, base. System, business, base, and PT, and you can actually run all these together. I'm just doing it in the two set because I haven't tried the part of it. So sync table only v1 and empty extension. Don't worry, if you're following this, the commands will be available on the GitHub later on. Okay, now it's time to install. And I'm pretty sure it's going to install everything, but let's see. First, you have to run the startnet data upgrade, which then moves the data. Before continuing, wait until the data upgrade process is completed. So first, before this, let's do a new hash and do a run data upgrade. How you do that? This is the command. Server instance 240. Okay, tenant ID is default, and then there is a function execution mode serial, which means that if there are multiple companies or even if there are multiple functions in the upgrade code unit from Microsoft, they'll run serially, which means one by one. If you change it to parallel, then they run parallelly as they are running. Now when you run this, it seems it's over, but it is actually not. So you'll have to wait and see. And how you can do that? You can do something like this, or you can do progress, either of this, right? I like the progress because it shows me a progress window of how much is the upgrade happening, and because this is the demo database, it might have been over while I'm running this, but on a longer database the progress will show you what's the progress of it, and it seems it's over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a detailed, and then I like this in a grid view. So when I run this, it'll show me in an external grid how things are. So it did ran for all these, the state is completed, so this has been over, and this is running for all the companies that were there in the database. So I'm good there, no problems at that point. Once the upgrade is over, we need to install the empty version, so that's what I'm writing, install this. So what I'll do is I'll copy the sync, because that command remains same, and here instead of sync I'll say install nav app. Hopefully the syntax is this, we'll verify that in a while. Let me give install service name of the extension and version. Okay, so you have to do this for all the apps for the empty version of system business foundation base that you have published. It didn't said that I have to publish or install the first app, which is BC14 only app. Do you know why? Let me walk you through around it. So what happens is when you run the data upgrade, the extension where the data upgrade is happening automatically gets installed. So when you check the get tab app info with a switch called tenant default and one more switch, tenant specific properties, it gives you more detail, and then it tells you what's the state of that extension. So if you look at it here, the business foundation is installed false, the system application is installed false, installed false for base application, is installed is true for the BC14 table only. We did not run it. It automatically happens when you run the data upgrade, because that extension is part of your destination app for migration. So don't be worried if it's automatically get installed, because there is a reason for it. So you only have to install the empty extensions. So let's do this. Okay, I'll install all the 4 apps, which is 3 from Microsoft and 1 is my PTE that we have. And if you're doing it again, repeating prior to BC24, you start eliminating the business foundation in all the steps that you are performing. Okay, now it's the time to publish the final extension. Now the final extension is the actual extension that is going to move ahead, right? So you will have to do that. So now let's go ahead and work on publishing, and the steps will remain again same. You will have to publish, you will have to sync, and you will have to upgrade. So how you do that? You do it like this. Publish the extension in following order. The first one is second version of the table migration, which is empty and with the version migration.json. Where is that? Okay, empty, not empty. I'm looking for the table migration extension v1.01. I just have to copy the path, come back here, for the time being place it as it is, copy the publish command from here, plug this in, and then if you notice there was a skip verification, so I can do the skip verification. This becomes my first extension to be published. What is my second extension? Is the Microsoft system application. Now how you get the Microsoft system application? You get it from the product DVD. So when you go into your product DVD, which is in my case CU4 of BC24, you get an application folder, and inside this, and let me copy this for you, one would be system application. Where is the system application? Here. Sorry, my bad. Source. Okay, and let me open another window so that I can just place them. I'll say actual extension or BC24 core extensions. Okay, one is system, the other one we need is base. So let's go into the base. I'll go here, and here is base. So base system. Okay, then we need the business foundation for sure. So let's go foundation, place it here. Is there anything else? Let's see. System we have copied, foundation we have copied, base we have copied. So you have all this in the product folder, and then the last but not least is the application extension. So my application extension is here. There's a folder called application, and from here the source, copy the application from here, paste it here. One thing which I need also, which is my custom extension. Okay, PTE extension. So I'll just also copy this and put it here. These are the extensions that I need. So let's start doing that. Okay, so the first custom extension, there's no third party in my case. If it's in India, that's a completely different deal. We're not talking about it right now. So first is the second version which we have written, then the system application. So let's come back here, pick the system application, copy path, go back here, and again paste the path for the time being. The next one is business foundation. So let's go back here, business foundation, copy path, and paste it here. Second one should be base application. So copy the path and paste it here. Anything else? After base is the application extension. Okay, copy path, paste it here. And last but not least is my custom extension, which should be a higher version of than the empty version, and I guess I have made that sure. Now remember this, the second extension, the third extension, the fourth and the fifth, all these are coming from Microsoft, so you don't have to add the skip verification there on all these, but this one is mine, so I have to add the skip verification. I'll save it later. Okay, so what we are doing, we are publishing all these extensions into our environment. So let's do a publish. Okay, now I'll go ahead and publish all these extensions, the version 2.0. There is no sync, there's no validation happening. You're just trying to publish, even if that all these extensions with the same name are already available, but it's just making sure that for the sync I'll need to publish them first. So that's what's happening right now. Now the base application can actually take time because it's a pretty long application, but the next step, if you look at it, would be the sync. Now sync will again happen, but this time it'll be in a specific sequence and you can't change that. One becomes the system application, which is mandated or mandatory for business foundation, and then the base requires a reference for both of these, the application. So you have to follow the order in the same way to synchronize that, and then you will have to sync the second version. So it's just reverse the order of how you published it, and then it'll move forward. So I'll have to wait for this, so I'll pause it because it's already pretty long in a video format. Okay, so as you can see, all these extensions has been published, and let's move ahead. The next one is synchronize the final extension. Now why it keep on saying the final extension? Because this is the actual extensions that we are installing here, right? So what we'll do is we'll again copy the same thing from here where we did the sync, okay, and then we will update the commands as needed, right? So let's do. Okay, so the first one is this, but the version has been changed to 1. Let's talk about the last one. It's now 2, and for these 3, I don't know, right? We don't know about them, so we'll have to figure that out. And how we figure that out? It's pretty simple. You just pick this part of it, the equation, say copy, and here do a get map app info, and which is the path, and then it tells you the version of all these apps. And the beauty is that all the Microsoft app have the same version, so I can just paste in here. Now if you read it here, that's what it is saying, that's synchronized, but there is an order of how you need to synchronize. The first is system application, so let's come back here. First do system application, okay. Then the second one is the business foundation, so let's pick the business foundation. The next is base application, so let's pick this. Next is Microsoft application, which we were not doing earlier, so I'll have to add a new line for Microsoft application, which is called application. Okay, once we have done application, then the custom extension, which is this one, and last but not least is the table extension, that second version of the table migration extension, which is 1.01. Hopefully I'm not confusing you guys at this moment, but I don't know. Let's run this through. Okay, so we have everything correct, we're running it. Now again, the system app will happen fast, business foundation will happen fast, base application will take some time. I'm going to pause it, and the next step would be very simple, is to run the data upgrade, if I'm not wrong. And this is about the third-party extension, which we don't have, neither we are talking about India, so we're not doing that. Now it's the upgrade. You have to start upgrading these extension, and then you have to clean. So it's more or less done. If this upgrade runs faster or in the time, we should be good there. So let's wait for the last step majorly, and this might be a little bit, oh, it actually happened faster than I expected. Okay, so now let's come back to the step, upgrade the empty migration extension. There is an error. The table demo entry cannot be located. Okay, I did a mistake because the documentation did not set this, and I went into a route of saying, oh, maybe I know this stuff, but I didn't. Okay, so remember, we had a table called demo entry in NAV, and then what we did here in my custom extension, if you notice, I added that table as SDH demo entry, which is my prefix, right? But I thought if the table entry is same, table name is same, I'll start working around it, but it does not. Now I'm not sure on which step it kind of failed. Is it on the no, on the, not on the system, not this, not base, not application, either on the PTE. Sorry, in the base on version 1.01. Base app version 1.01. Let's see. I'll have to see this. Now this is because I'm fixing it here. That's a different thing altogether. But in the empty extension for my custom extension, there's no source associated with it, so there's no problem on the empty one. The only problem is in my PTE extension, which I was showing you here. So you need to make sure that when you start building these extension, all your custom table name should be same in CAL as they are in AL. Now this is kind of not suggested, but what I'm going to do here for the time being, I'm going to copy this and change this to demo entry, because there is no such table, so I should be safe here. Okay, and then that should start working. And because I kind of, okay, I should not have been done that, but there are references to it. Let me rename this and remove the word SDH from it for the time being, and then after the upgrade I'll have to add it, right? But remember, if you are going to, not if, you should be using a prefix when you're building your final extension, but before you start upgrading in your BC14, make sure that the same prefix is added into your CAL table names also. They should not be different. Okay, Now let me try to understand where we are stuck. We did the publish, and if I try to do the get nav app info with pipe out hyphen grid view, because I'll have to see can I republish with the same version or not. So if you look at it, the extension which is not in sync is my BC this, because it kind of failed because of mine. So I have the system application which is in sync, not installed but in sync. PT version 1, PT version 2. The PT version 2 is also synced. What failed to sync is the BC14 table only. Version 1.01. Now, but that happened because of this. So I cannot publish this, so I'll have to remove this, and this is me doing it because I had a mistake. So you don't have to do this, but let me unpublish my extension for a while. Unpublish nav app, and what I'm going to unpublish is PT extension. Okay, let me unpublish this. I cannot unpublish because sorry, I don't have to do the tenant. My bad. Okay. So this got unpublished. Now I'll have to rebuild my extension with the old name because I did not do it correctly. Now this is 2.0 again. Let me, sorry guys, you don't have to do this. Hopefully I'll just copy this and I'll place it in the BC14 core extension folder, and I'll replace this. Okay, now let me go back in my here and let me publish my PT again. Okay, now let me try to sync the PT only. What happened? Cannot sync because it's already synchronized. Okay, and now let me try to sync this. Okay, I should have uninstalled this also. Okay, so if you keep your names correctly, as in you should be keeping, and I'm pretty sure I did it in the last one. I don't know why I was trying this because it didn't said anything in the whole process, so I was a little bit find PD extension because it is not published. Uninstall. Okay, let me see what's the state right now. So there is a PT 1.0, and let me sort it by name. There is only one, but let me try to clean this for a while. There's no data loss at this moment, hopefully, because I'm just trying to clean the version 2, which does not have the data at this moment. Some code here. Mode clean. Okay. Okay. Let me do it simply. On this, I'll increase the version to 3.0 just to keep it simple. Okay. Let's do a build. Let's come in here. Okay, and let me place it into my core extension and remove the 2.0. Okay, hopefully this succeeds. So I'm going to change this to 3.0, and I'm also going to change this to 3.0. So let's do the publish of 3.0. Let's do the sync of 3.0. And why sync is failing? Okay, now 3.0 and 1.0. Phew, because there is 1.0 also, right? But 1.0 does not have anything, if I remember it correctly. Where is the empty one? Empty extension, custom extension. And there's 1.0, but there's no reference of it. So why it is calling this as a problem? Let me do a mode. I should not be doing this, but okay, I'm just giving it a try. Okay, again, you should not be doing it, so I'm removing it. Sync, because this have the migration.json and it is looking for the same table name, which was a little bit not surprising. I have done it in the previous one when we did the migration thing. Because it was not listed anywhere in the MSDN document, I thought maybe I just presumed that. And I guess that assumption was not correct. So remember, for all your new table and only for new tables, okay, your table name should be same in NAV as it is in your final extension. If not, sorry, not if, I keep on saying if. As you are using prefixes in BC, make sure that the prefixes is added into your extension, or sorry, into your BC before you start running this mode of upgrade. So if you look at it right now, everything is sync. 1.0 is not in sync, which makes sense, as in why 1.0 is not in sync. That's surprising. Everything should be at sync at this moment. Why 1.0 is not in sync? Let me just, because it was in sync, just because of my foolishness here and there, it kind of got unsynced. Let me just try to do 1 again to stay on sync. It says it's already synchronized, but I don't see that 1.0 is in sync or not. Okay, sync state. Okay, let me do a sync, and you don't have to run all this, but I'm just making sure. Okay, let's move forward. Let's see what happens. Okay, and I have chances that I might fail. Okay, so now I'm doing an upgrade of empty table data migration, and I can't do it again, man, if it fails, but I'll have to if it fails. There's no other way. Okay, so here BC 240, extension name is BC 14 tables only, version is 1.01, which is the second version, and let's run this. Now it started, and we remember that whenever the upgrade starts, you will have to check, is it done, or is it, yeah, is it done or not? So let's see that. So if you come here, I see that the state is completed and the extension ID is changed for table only, or same for table only, and then it is running. Okay, so the data upgrade is over, and hopefully at this point it says that you can uninstall and unpublish the table migration extension. So work of this extension is done, and now we need to uninstall, then sync in the clean mode as I was trying to do when I had the issue, and then unpublish the 2 version of table extension. So we'll have to unpublish at the end. Okay, So let's replace this, Control H with this, replace all. Okay, tenant becomes default. Because the work of this extension is done, so I can easily remove this and move forward with it. So the version 2 is this, the name is obviously same, so that should not be a problem, but let's see. Okay, and my extension version of 2 is this, and that also is my data version, so I should be able to do the cleaning of it. Okay, now once the uninstall is done, everything is done, let's do unpublish, otherwise you'll see it on your screen, which is confusing at some point. So I can unpublish version 1, and then I can also, and you don't need the tenant default in case of unpublish, and I can do the version 0, the initial one that we created. Okay, and you can run all of them together if needed, that's okay, and that cleans it up. Okay, so this is done. Now upgrade and install the final extension, and as you upgrade them, they will be there. So let's do that. Upgrade the system application first. How you do that? You run the start nav app data upgrade, start nav app data upgrade, server instance BC240, then comes the name, which is here. Okay, so I can just start placing this and copying all this. Okay, home, system, base, foundation, and this, and hopefully my last extension, if that works. Okay, so, and this confirms that if you have an upgrade code unit inside your extension, all of these different extensions that we are copying, then those get executed as we run the start nav data upgrade. Now because our extension don't have it, the PTE one, even if I don't run it, it'll work. But just in better sense, I'm just trying to make sure that we oh, you don't run the upgrade for Microsoft application, you just run the install for it. So for the Microsoft application, do an install nav app. Okay, so let's do let's see once install. I just want to see what are the commands available. Server instance, okay, BC240, then name, and then version. Okay, not a problem. So I can actually run all these together, but again this is going to take time because the base application is kind of a little bit big. It's reaching that point, but if there is data that need to be upgraded in the base app, which is one of the biggest app even today, it'll take some time to run the data upgrade. And it have blinked 3 times and stopped 3. Oh, that seems to be completed. Okay, happening super fast because I don't have any data. But if I look at it right now, they all are let's filter on installed. So if you look at it, all the base system application and all and PTE of version 3 has been installed, and all these empty one which I have created are kind of not installed and has been removed. What would be the last step? Hopefully at this point, to update the control add-in, which I'm not doing right now, but you can do it on your availability, or let's do it. I like to do it. Okay, don't stop here just because you think that everything is done. It's important for your customers to have everything in place, and you should be doing it, I think. So the new web server instance, I can just replace it or maybe define it as a variable here. I go to BC240, and then there is one more variable called app name. So this is the pointer of where your apps are. So the documentation should tell you about this, that these are available in this path. So you need to look for the control add-in folder. So I'll go here and see if is it pointing to the right folder or not. It's not. Okay, so see program files, Microsoft, oh sorry, what happened? Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, and it's still saying 190. Guys, please update this. Microsoft, if you're watching this, I don't hope, but if you are, add in, and then business. I don't think you need to go to business chart level. I think this is what is your app path name. This is just a representation of this is just a variable where all these paths are, and then after this, if you see, there is a folder and then there is a plugin. There might be some errors sometimes, but if you have custom wizard, this is how you control add-ins, then you also kind of add them here. Let's run this bunch, and there are errors. None of them path because it is null. Okay, so let's see, join path of, oh, app path is add-in folder. Sorry, my bad. This should be the variable, and then they should end with a slash, backslash. So my bad. Let me correct my mistake here and place in a forward slash. Okay, so this is where it again fails. Nice. BC 240 is not recognized. Why it is not recognized? Do I need to keep it on single quotes? Maybe. Let's do that. I'm so new in PowerShell, okay guys? So let me run this. This time it's working and installing the control add-in. So just set these two parameters, what is your service name and what is your path, and it'll just update everything that's needed. There's one which is not working, satisfactory basis, because it might not be available in PC24, but you should be running this. Okay, anything else after this? Let's have a look. Install upgrade permission set. You should be installing it, the upgraded permission set, and then change the application version. This is important. You should never miss this, okay, because this is what you see on your help and support, and if you don't do it, your customers will be a little bit confused about what version I'm in, because it'll say whatever the version of BC14 that you're coming from. And then you also have to run the sync after this, and then last but not least, you have to run the start nav data upgrade. Okay, now your new web server instance is instance is BC 240, so let's replace this. Okay, and your BC version, now this is interesting. Your BC version, I'll have to look for it on internet. Business Central 24 CU4 download. Okay, now this is 24.4, where you need to set, if you look at it, application version, and the application build is this. Now if you look here on the Microsoft example, it should be 4 digit. If you only see 3 parts of it, just add .0 into it. So we see 3 digits, we append this. Then this is my default tenant, and this is also my default tenant. Now people skip it, and then in their help and support they kind of get confusing. So, and sometimes we also look by checking at get NAD application to exactly find what version customer is using. And when I say we, which means everyone in the industry. So keep this up to date. Then here is how you change for help and support, which is by setting up this on set nav configuration. Update help and support. Okay, I'm not going to spend the rest of the time in installing all other relevant apps which are needed, but if you need it, you'll have to tell me into the comments. I can do a separate video if needed for that, but I'm not going to waste that time into it. Now again, you can uninstall all the unnecessary extension. You have to enable the task scheduler, which you disabled earlier, and if you had the data encryption enabled in BC14, you have to enable it, and then there are certain permissions that you need to make sure that you have it. Okay, but before we leave, let's do two things. One, first see what other extensions which are weird with us. Let's see where the install status is false. So we have these 4 extension which are not in use. So what I can do is I would have installed them somewhere. Okay, let's come here. Yes, this we have uninstalled already, unpublished and all, and this is what is left. I'm just going to copy these, come down here, and after this I can actually do a remove empty extensions. Okay, and that will apply to all 4 extensions that we have, which is uninstall, 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 and uninstall. You need server instance, you need dib this, and then you need the app name and the version, and then you have to do this also for each of them after uninstall. So let me copy this, and guys, don't rush around it, because this all becomes important, because you should not be getting confused about it. 1 2 3 4. Okay, and then in this, the tenant is this, you need the name and you need the version. Okay, so let's do this, and if you have seen it here, just wait and see, because we'll be reviewing the data came or not, even if I had a small mistake and I knew what I forced. So I'm very sure that I should not have any problem, but who knows, maybe I have some mistakes there. So we also need to check that, because if I cannot make it till that point, I might have to re-record it, which is, oh man, so much at this moment. Okay, again the same thing, I'll have to unpublish them. Okay, and that needs the name and the version. Okay, now there are other extensions that you should be installing, like in BC14 on the Cronus environment that I'm coming from, there were some extensions already, so I will have to install those also, but I hope you guys know that how to do it. If you don't, and let me know into the comments, what I'll do is I'll do a follow-up on this one, and just on the same environment I'll install all the pre-extension and all the new extensions which are part of it, and there are some problems. Okay, what it says, cannot remove the extension when it is not installed. Oh, so it cannot uninstall them because they are not installed, which makes sense. So their installation status was false, so I could have left this. Okay, and I cannot sync it with mode clean. That's interesting. Why was that? Until it has been uninstalled, and version 14.0 is uninstalled. I don't know what's smoking here. Let's see. Oh, it's already gone. Okay, and then I think I should unpublish them. Oh, they are gone. Okay, I'll keep them here if needed. Okay, now as we are done with this, let's run this first. Let's see what happens now. So now we are coming, I don't know, it's a company, yeah, Cronus UK was there. So now I'm here in my business center. Let's first check what are the extension. Maybe I'm pointing to the wrong environment and faking it, but I'm not. Okay, so we see all these extensions which were part of our process. Okay, the version 3 and all. And now let's go into our location card or location list, if I did not mess this up. The shop code is same. Let's get into our customers. Okay, I might have added it at the end. Yes, the shop code is here, and then there was a page called demo, demo entries. It also have data. Okay, so the data did came forward, and we did everything that was listed here. Now before I let you guys go, let's quickly talk about what I learned from this. Okay, one thing I surely learned is while you are doing these kind of upgrades, you need to make sure that the Business Central 14 environment does not have any table which are not part of standard BC 14. And why you will have those tables? If the environment is upgraded to Business Central 14 from a prior version. So if the customer is upgraded from a prior version to Business Central 14, make sure to review all the tables that they all are supposed to be present in BC 14 or not. You can simply do it by comparing it the table list with a standard BC table list, and if there is any table which is not in 50,000 to 99,000 range and it still exists in the customer environment, it will be empty because it was a leftover from the previous upgrade. Clean them. Second thing that you should be learning from this one is you will be using prefixes in your final extension of BC 24 or 23, wherever you're going, and you will be using a prefix. Now if you are upgrading using this process where there is a customization in CAL, make sure that for all your new tables, the name should match in CAL to the name that is given in extension. So if you have a prefix like SDH, make sure to append that prefix in NAV 14 also, because I will have to fix it after I complete my upgrade, and this was one table, so I'll be able to do it. Second, read through the step, don't rush through it. I don't do it day in and day out, but it was pretty simple to read through the steps and get it over with. Don't left your upgrade half done. Like I have seen people as the upgrade completes and they don't follow the set application, they don't update the help and documentation, they don't install the control add-in. Think from a customer perspective. All these things matter to customer. So make sure when you're reading the article, follow the steps from top to bottom and complete all the steps which are listed there. In this video, we haven't covered installing other apps which were there in Business Central 14 before we started upgrade, and we haven't talked about the new apps which are part of BC 24 now. I'm hoping you guys know it, but if you don't, let me know into the comment section and I'll do a follow-up video where we'll just deal with that part of the equation. Hopefully all the questions which were in the previous recording of 2 or 3 sets of video that we did are clear on this. If you still have question, please let me know. I'll try to generate your scenario. The code will be available on GitHub, all these extensions that I've created because last time people requested it. Even the PowerShell commands will be available there. You'll not be able to use them as it is, but if you want to take the reference of it, I'll place it, and the link of that GitHub repo will be available in the description and the first pinned comment of this video. Now you know the drill. If you like the content, hit the like button. If you know someone who is struggling with this process, do share this video with your friends and colleagues, or just share it on social media, guys. The idea is that I don't like when people ask me question and I have to send the link of my video because that was available. And I guess the missing piece is that we as community members, you, me, and all together, when we see some content which helped us, we don't share it on social media. And don't just do it for my content. Anywhere where you learn something new, do make sure that you share it on social media so that it gets a better reach and people are able to get hold of it. And as I said in the beginning, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do subscribe it, and I'll continue doing whatever I'm doing. I'll see you sooner than later based on your comments and feedbacks. Till then, keep learning and keep sharing whatever you are learning. Thank you. Have a nice day.